Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Menopause Barbie here with you, showing you how to manage your menopause your way. So, from our previous videos, you know what causes menopause. You know the names and functions of each part of the female reproductive tract. You know the names and various surgical procedures of the female reproductive tract. You know the names and functions of all the hormones involved in menopause, and you know how those hormones interact. You also know all the signs and symptoms of menopause and how to diagnose menopause using a laboratory test. You know a lot. So you're now at tutorial number 13. You've learned all that stuff in the previous tutorials. So now we're on tutorial number 13, and I'm going to teach you how to analyze things in order to figure out how you want to manage your menopause your way. So today we're going to discuss something I call the balancing act. And you're going to see from now on how to assess everything else I teach you. You're going to use this information from now on. So if you're following along in the book today, it's pages 83 through 89. And if you're following along in the outline notes, we're using pages 11 and 12. Okay, I call this part of the tutorial the balancing act because we're going to be weighing and balancing things against one another in order to make decisions for yourself. See, it's a balance. It looks like this. See that option 1 versus option 2? That's what you're going to be doing. And first, there are a few basic principles of the balancing act. So I'm going to list them for you first, and then we're going to discuss them further. So principle number 1 is you know yourself better than anyone else does. You've heard me say that a few times. Principle number 2. No one's opinion matters but your own. Principle number 3. You get to balance the benefits of each option against the risks of each option. Principle number 4. With complete and accurate information, you'll make the best decision for yourself at the time. Principle number 5. You may use trial and error to arrive at your decision. Principle number 6. You need to pursue each option for at least 3 months to really know if it's right for you. Principle number 7, you have the right and the freedom to change your mind. And principle number 8, you may discontinue your current treatment or management at any time. You know, sounds a little bit like choosing a husband, doesn't it? You know, it's like, do I want this guy? Do I want this guy? You know, which one will I choose? Goofy thought, but it's true. So let's look at those principles in greater detail. Principle number 1, you know yourself better than anyone else does. Need I explain? You see, the only person that you're with all the time is yourself. And by now, I mean, face it, you've been around a while. So you kind of know some things. You know, by the time you get to menopause, you've been on this earth for a while, so you know a few things, especially about yourself. So you have to trust yourself and don't second guess yourself. Principle number 2, no one's opinion matters but your own. You see, biased information is of no use to you. All biased information does for you is persuade you to pursue someone else's preferences instead of thinking for yourself. You see, that's what I love about giving my seminars in small group settings. I sometimes have these seminars in my living room and I limit it to about 10 or 12 women. And what's great about those small groups is that the women see why they should have different opinions. You know, no one becomes anonymous in a small group of 10 or 12. In a room of 1,000 people, someone becomes anonymous. A lot of people become anonymous. But in a small group like that, in a safe setting where there's nothing going on but the seminar, and the women have the space all to themselves, no one becomes anonymous, and everyone understands why Susan wants this, and Catherine wants this, and Alicia wants that. because they see the differences. And that's the key here. No one's opinion matters but your own. And when you're with other women doing this, you get to see that firsthand. Principle number 3, you get to balance the benefits of each option against the risks of each option. You see, in medicine, we weigh everything. Everything is about benefit versus risk. Benefit versus risk. And what we do is we only recommend the management if the benefits outweigh the risk. So let's spend a little more time on that principle, because that is the basis of this whole tutorial. See, this is a picture that I took in Morocco, and this is guys weighing olives against these bricks to see how much the olives weigh. That's kind of what you're going to do. So this is a balancing scale, and for any option you want to consider, what you're going to do is put all the beneficial aspects of an option on one side and all the risky or detrimental aspects of an option on the other side. And that way you're going to compare them. You're going to see how the scale tips. If the benefits outweigh the risks, which means the pros outweigh the cons, then the option's worth considering. If not, you should consider another option. You should consider how other options balance out. So option 1, option 2 is like benefits and risks, and you're just seeing which one weighs more. You want to pick the things for which the benefits outweigh the risks. The heavier one is going to win. You see, like I said, it's exactly what we do with men when we're trying to find a husband, right? Okay, see, here's our guys. This guy or this guy? This is Mr. Wonderful. This is Ken, as in Barbie and Ken. Now look at these guys. This one, okay, he's a little nerdy, he's a little dirty. You know, and he just doesn't know how to dress very well. But he's got a great smile. This guy, God, he is gorgeous. Look at that. Great hair, beautiful blue eyes, and God, a chiseled body like that, I mean, that's just great. Now, when we put him on the scale, okay, this guy ain't gonna fit on the scale. I guess this is sort of like being off the scales, but I mean, look at these great big hands.
I'll be driving you to work today because I'm taking your car in for service.
Oh my God, I like this. What did you say?
Baby, I've arranged the spa day for you next Saturday at your favorite salon.
Okay, now this guy gets big points. I like what he has to say to me.
Sweetheart, your hot bubble bath is ready.
He's good. He's good. Okay, you right. You know, this guy gets big points. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you have to say? Do you talk? Well, you know, your smile isn't as good as his either. Can you give me a better smile than that? Okay, so you're a man of few words and you just look good. Okay, well, see. You know, it's a hard decision. You know what I mean? Look at that. You get the idea, right? Okay. Sometimes you won't even be comparing apples to apples when you're balancing two things. Sometimes, rather than comparing apples to apples, you're going to be comparing apples to oranges. You're going to be comparing the benefits of one option to the benefits of a completely different option, maybe in a whole different category. So the whole idea of what you're weighing are going to be completely different, but you're still trying to make a choice between the two. Okay, so sometimes it's apples to oranges. That's the kind of thing you have to realize. It's still a balancing act when that happens. I'm going to be raising up and down here, gathering my little props from time to time. So, for example, let's say you're trying to decide whether to use a traditional form of medical option or an alternative and complementary form of medical option. Let's say you're thinking about using something that's pharmaceutical, traditional medicine, or something that's alternative and complementary. You put them on the scale and you see how they weigh against one another. And Here's how you do it. You put them on and just see how they pan out for you, okay? You may place as much weight as you see fit on each factor. See, these weighed the same on the scale, but they may weigh very differently to you. For you, one or the other may hold so much more weight because you prefer it. That is important. You get to be honest with yourself. Don't settle for anything that is very important for you. Don't belittle anything that's important to you. Don't settle for less. So when you do this balancing act, you're going to include all sorts of things on the scales. You're going to include things like your health issues and your family history. You're going to think about things like the side effects of drugs and your own personal quality of life and your lifestyle. And of course, you're going to consider your personal preferences if you just prefer one thing or another. You're going to also consider your symptoms of menopause. Are they severe? Are they major? I mean, those things matter. And then you're going to also think about what is your ability to actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish with your chosen choice. So think about that as your balancing act. And then you're going to want to take both the short-term and the long-term consequences into account in order to assess both your current and future benefits and risks. You see, you want to feel good now and later. So for instance, if you are nervous and felt very uncomfortable about taking a pharmaceutical estrogen now and on a daily basis, it makes you very nervous, do you think that's creating any long-term benefit? Well, of course not. It's making you a nervous wreck, and so you're not getting anything out of it in the short term or the long term. So think about it that way. Do what's comfortable now, but also keep in mind that you're planning for the future. All right? Now let's go on to principle number 4. Principle number 4 is that with complete and accurate information, you'll make the best choice for yourself at the time. Facts are facts. What's important is how you apply the facts to your own definition of quality of life that matters. See, we don't define quality of life the same. Everyone has a different opinion for that. For some people, it's the ability to be able to ski or to be able to play the piano or whatever they care about. So just because someone else thinks something constitutes quality of life doesn't mean you feel that way. Let's say 2 women have had identical breast cancers before menopause. And they've both been told that taking estrogen could possibly increase the chance of a recurrence, but it hasn't been proven. So they both have the same disease, they've both been told the same information, and the truth is no one really knows, but there's a chance that they can increase their risk by using estrogen. And let's say both of these women have terrible, devastating symptoms when they become perimenopausal. They both are just completely uprooted by it. One might choose to take estrogen for the first few years. She may say, you know what? The immediate quality of life that this gives me at the current time is more important, is more beneficial, weighs more than the mere possibility that it might increase my risk for breast cancer. So her attitude is, my current life is so upset that I need to do something about it, even if there's a chance it'll harm me in the long term. So for her, that's one way. So the other woman says, okay, well, but I can deal with the symptoms. I would rather have miserable symptoms and have my current life completely disrupted than to take estrogen, because the mere thought, the mere idea of taking estrogen is so scary to me because it might increase my risk for future breast cancer that I'm not willing to do it. You see how that is? It's like they have different value systems. So one of them says it's worth it in the short term, and the other one says It's not worth it in the short term. The long term is more important. And it's about which one weighs more. And it's not about the physical weights. It's about your value system. All that matters is how you feel. The only difference in this whole situation is the woman who's doing the weighing. See, it's not about the actual weights of these items. So even though this one actually weighed more, that's a physical weight. We're not talking about the physical weight. We're talking about mental and emotional and all kinds of things in addition to that. So all that matters is the perceptions of these two women. And when you're doing your balancing act, all that matters is your opinion. So this is why you have to be true to yourself and do what's right for you. So principle number 5, you may use trial and error to arrive at your decision. You see, you may have to experiment a little. You have to get to know what you prefer. You may not even have any idea what you prefer. You may have to play with a few things and find out. Give yourself permission to do that. Say, I don't have to make my decision right now. I can figure it out over time. Principle number 6. You need to pursue each option for 3 months to really know if it's right for you. You see, hormones don't exert their effects immediately. They exert their effects slowly over time. It's not like you're going to take a hormone pill today and notice a difference tomorrow. If you switch too frequently, you're going to rob yourself of knowing whether an option was even valid for you. So remember, it's like a 3-month trial for each thing you do. And if you don't do that, you're going to be sorry. Do you remember our last tutorial on hormone levels? Remember we talked about how you can choose to follow your hormone levels and it can help you assist whether you need to target certain hormones that are deficient? You can do that. But of course, you need to give yourself time to get to a stability level that you can actually measure. But measuring hormones may be one way that you want to use to decide which hormones to take in the first place, or you may want to draw hormone levels to analyze how well you're succeeding in your replacement efforts. So if you find out that you're deficient in estrogen and you want to take some estrogen and then measure your levels, you can do that. It's an option. You don't have to do it that way. Principle number 7. You have the right and the freedom to change your mind. You're female. You can change your mind anytime you want. You don't have to get it right the first time. You get to fine-tune things. You get to dabble a little bit. You just need to understand that you have this freedom. And principle number 8, you may discontinue your management at any time. You can just decide, I don't want to do this anymore. And you can do that. See, your choice as to what to do to manage your menopause isn't a life sentence. And even if you thought you were going to do it for a lifetime, you're not a robot. You are going to change. Your needs are going to change. The options are going to change. So many things will change that, you really ought to think in terms of being able to flip things around if you want to. So, what we have is some categories, some options. You have the option of doing nothing. You have the option of having a short-term focus, focusing primarily on the current symptoms. You have the option of a long-term focus where you're saying, I'm going to make sure I'm doing well and feeling good when I'm 90. Or you have a combination. You can do a combination of short-term, long-term. You may say, I'm going to do this because I'm miserable in the short term, but in the long term, I'm not going to worry about that, and I'm going to switch and worry about that. Something else. You can do whatever you want. So as you enter this arena where you're thinking about your balancing act, you're going to ask yourself some questions. Question number 1 is going to be, do you want to pursue any form of management or treatment at all? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then what form of management do you prefer? Now, this is a theoretical question because obviously you haven't done it yet. See, there's 2 big camps. There's the medical therapy with hormones or non-hormonal medications. Remember the Premarin, this medication. And then there's the alternative and complementary products. So the theoretical question is, which of those two categories do you prefer? Question also is, do you want to use one single agent to alleviate all your symptoms of menopause so that you can just take one thing for everything? Or do you prefer to just find separate medications and treatments for each of your individual symptoms? So you might take this one for vaginal dryness, and this one for joint pain, and this one to go to sleep at night. Your choice. You can pick and choose. You don't have to know right away. See, you have all these categories from which to choose. This is a wonderful thing. You have so many categories. You have the do nothing category. You have the diet and lifestyle category. You have the alternative and complementary medicine category, which includes your vitamins, your minerals, your botanicals, and your herbs. It also includes acupuncture and hypnosis. And then you have traditional medical options using hormones, any kind of hormones. And you have traditional medical options not using hormones, using other medications, but not hormones. So you can have all those categories, or you can use some combination of the above. I mean, you can do anything you want. You see, there's no right or wrong, there's no better or worse, and there's no good or bad. I hate those labels that we use to pigeonhole what's positive, negative in our lives, because the truth is, there's just many options, and the reason there are many options is because women are different. So you don't have to feel like you're doing the right thing or wrong thing. You are doing what's best for you. The key to all of this, though, is to be realistic with yourself about what you will and will not actually do. Like I said a while ago, you've been around a long time, you know yourself really well. And you know, your brain and your body may not agree. Do you know what a birth plan is? Yeah, a birth plan is where a woman who's pregnant, almost always for the first time, sits down when she's, 2 months from her delivery, she's feeling perfectly fine, and she decides, I'm gonna make a birth plan, and I'm gonna write down the way I want everything to go in labor. I'm gonna dictate all the anesthesia and all the positions and everything they can do and not do, because I want my birth to turn out a certain way. So she writes this big birth plan and she gives it to us and says, this is how I want you to do my labor. Well, the truth is, labor is unpredictable. Labor is controlled by Mother Nature, just like menopause. And here's the truth. Those women don't follow that birth plan. They go into labor and they start screaming bloody murder about what they want, and they're like, throw that birth plan out the window. I don't care what the birth plan says. Voila, that's the same thing as menopause. Sometimes your body overrides your brain. It sounded like a good idea when you wrote it down on paper, but by golly, when you go into labor and experience the real thing, suddenly that birth plan just doesn't matter anymore. Menopause is no different. So, the most important phrase for you to remember is for me. And I want you to add for me to the end of every sentence you utter about menopause. You see, this is a time for extreme selfishness and self-focus. The only opinion that matters is your own. So when you say something about menopause, add for me to it. It will save your girlfriend's confusion. It will save people having the tendency to add the labels good, bad, right, wrong, better, worse. You'll make it clear that you're making the decision that's best for you. Okay, now we're going to use your worksheet. If you don't have one of these, you can print it out. It looks like this, and if you've been following along, you know that we have filled out the entire first page of this worksheet already. But now what we're going to do is we're going to use our worksheet like it's a birth plan. In other words, I want you to skip ahead, flip all the way to page 5. Okay? Page 5. You're going to see questions number 14 and 15 on page 5. See, what you're doing here is predicting your preferences before I educate you about the differences between your options. You see, we're anticipating what you're going to like. And then we're going to come back to it later after you've been educated to see if you've changed your mind. It's going to be kind of like going into labor when the actual information is given to you and learning what reality is, okay? So on page 5, you're going to see questions 14 and 15. And today, since it's just a birth plan, all you're going to do is put a star next to your preferences. You're not going to circle anything yet, because if you circle it, then you're stuck with it. I don't want you to be stuck with it. Okay, so for question number 14, it says, what are your personal preferences? Do nothing, or short-term management, or long-term management, or both short and long-term management. Put a star next to the one you prefer. And then there's question 15. What categories do you prefer? Diet and lifestyle, vitamin and minerals, herbals and botanicals, hormonal medications, non-hormonal medications, acupuncture, hypnosis. Put a star next to the one you prefer. And you can actually choose as many as you wish now, but try to lean towards what you think you're going to prefer. And remember, you can change your mind just like you can throw out the birth plan during labor, okay? This is just so that you have an idea of what you thought before you were educated. But I'll tell you this, no matter what your preferences are now, I cannot tell you how astounding it is that so many women change their minds after learning what I'm going to be teaching you in all the subsequent tutorials. It is rare for a woman to stay with what she thought she was going to want. So, stay tuned, follow along, and see how well you like your birth plan for menopause once you know the facts. So that's it for today. We're going to be ready to proceed to learning all the details about your options next time. So that's where we'll start then. And oh, by the way, I thought you'd like to know. I picked this guy. This is my Mr. Wonderful. Come here, George. George Walther. Now, look. He kind of looks like Mr. Wonderful. He's even dressed like Mr. Wonderful. And he actually...
Do you like the new aromatherapy candles I bought for you yesterday?
He actually says things to me like Mr.
What
Wonderful.
can I do to make your life more wonderful?
Ladies, this is the man behind all of this. He is my cameraman, my lighting guy, my grip. He runs around doing errands, finding props for me. I send him all over the place finding these goofy, crazy props. I make lists of wild and nutty things for him to go find, and he just always says, I'll be happy to, darling.
I'm Mr. Wonderful.
He is my Mr. Wonderful. I thought you should meet him. George Walther. I love you, boy. See you later. Bye. Oh, and look at those big hands. I like those big hands. Bye.
Bye.